How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and do a mission with this thing, the Cat 745C. Yeah, I'm going to go and do this trailer Whirlpool because it doesn't seem too complicated. I've got to go like down the map. There's a trailer in the water off kind of one of the bridges on the way down, and yeah, then I've got to take it to the farm. So, like I say, it's not too much of a bad one, but I've been wanting an excuse to try this for the last couple of days. And yeah, this seems like the right sort of mission. I don't want a mission that's too long because this thing isn't that fast or anything anyway. So yeah, it was just a good excuse really to take it out, see how it does in the mud. Sometimes you just want to wear a loaf like a hat. I don't really think that needs any more explaining. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, I love using them posts at the minute like that, especially because this thing with the steering, I mean, obviously it's articulated, so it's a bit slow and iffy and awkward anyway. But I believe they've added like a bad thing to this because, well, again, as you've seen on other trucks, like if you steer left and then you steer left again, it puts a bit of right-hand steering first, like it's doing on the other Cat. Well, it's doing the same thing on this now, even with articulated steering. I'm pretty certain it didn't used to do it, or at least not to that degree, because I just feel like I'd remember it more, and it doesn't necessarily ring a bell. Again, not as bad as it is. It's like, yeah, you go to steer left, and it'll put right-hand steering, and especially the fact that the nose is articulated, that's not just steering right then, it's physically, yeah, shoving your nose over to the right, and then you go on like a big arc back round to the left, and yeah, it's not really too keen on that. I don't know why they keep doing that with steering on set. I don't even know why that would ever even be a thing to consider adding into the game, whether it's balancing or not. It's stupid. It's like nothing steers the opposite way to what you steer it. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, as for cutting down here, I mean, this is kind of why I wanted to bring it. It's got, what's it, 71-inch tyres, so well, it used to be the biggest in the game. I believe the Cat 770G is 74-inch tyres now. But yeah, I mean, this thing's pretty weighty, it's got pretty decent grip. It ploughs along through this mud pretty well, albeit a little bit slow, but depending what you're bringing down here, a fair amount of things are quite slow anyway. And admittedly, yeah, if I was just going to go and take this thing out on its own like this, I wouldn't be taking it out too often. Apologies, a little glitch there. What I'm going to do though, I've just drove down this first bit. I managed to get it where the sun was actually like nice, because for some reason tonight I've been trying to switch it all night. It keeps being incredibly foggy and incredibly snowy, which I don't really mind. I actually like the look of the snow and everything. But as far as making a video, it just seems really dark, like it's always bordering on the verge of turning to night time. So I ended up quitting the game, reloading it, and I managed to get a sunny day when I did. So this is the bridge where you'll grab the curtain side from, and again, I've kind of cut this one in, but we'll go back to it in a sec. It's just on this run through as well. I was kind of eyeballing this up earlier, and yeah, fancied cutting across the water, seeing how well this thing can do. Obviously one of its biggest weaknesses is water really, because it can't go that deep before it starts taking engine damage. But it has actually got, like, yeah, plenty of muscle to it. It grips in, digs in pretty well, because it is quite weighty, and yeah, in the right situation, well, I've been crossing quite a few rivers tonight. A few of them, you take a few hits along the way, but nothing too insane. I mean, what, I'm down to, like, lost probably just under a quarter of my engine health there, so yeah, I wouldn't be recommending it long term, but it actually made it across, which is pretty nice. So this is, again, the exact same bridge. See with the steering? That was because I turned right or whatever a little bit, let go of the steering stick, then applied it again, and then it just made me steer the other way, because it's just doing that stupid thing again. It, like I said, it's bad enough on normal trucks that just steer the wheels, but the fact that this thing steers its entire body, yeah, is definitely a bit of a pain in the arse. Going along all the mud tracks though, they're so kind of boggy and all the rest of it, you kind of sink into your own path, and it's a little bit less noticeable, but certainly along like paved roads and trying to go around corners, it stands out a hell of a lot. Yeah, for no apparent reason, I just wanted to jump off there and say, well, I actually wanted to climb up here, because I drove out of here with a loaf earlier, and it was goddamn professional, so I just wanted to see if this thing could actually manage it or not. And I did need a bit of winching to get the nose up onto the rocks, but from now, yeah, the winch isn't connected or anything, and it is actually scrambling its way up there. And yeah, that's the trailer. Yeah, I was trying to think of, like, I already knew the trailer was tipped off the bridge on its side. I was thinking I could bring a crane and try and lift it out, but one, they seem just so weak it's sort of boring and annoying. But yeah, like I said, while I was at it, I also just wanted to see the pulling power of this thing. I've not really drove this for a hell of a long time, just because there is faster, better options, particularly in fact with this thing it's just very limited. Like, as you can see, I can't even have a trailer, so I've got to winch the trailer. It's either got a cargo container flatbed type thing, that if you actually look now, it can hold a cargo container, a cabin, or special cargo, or something like that. So there's a couple of options, but they've removed where it could used to be able to transport one slot cargo things like bricks, wood, etc. Yeah, it's got a fuel thing as well, but just overall it's quite a limited truck in the game as far as like where you're actually going to go and use it. But these maps are, because they're pretty trollish with this super snow and super mud. You can see again, I was trying to get a nice day because it's too bloody foggy. So quit and load it up again. Yeah, these maps are being pretty slow. That's why, like yesterday, using the P12, that actually it felt alright on that map. Like, again, it wasn't knocking it out of the park or anything. It did have that where trying to get up the hill and it would just run out of power. But because the maps are quite boggy and slow to begin with, they certainly match it a bit better than obviously somewhere like Michigan, Black River. A P12 just isn't worth it because you spend so much time like just flat out in the max gear, and yeah, there's not really a whole lot going on. And this thing, it does actually climb over the rocks pretty well. It certainly doesn't really hesitate. It's just kind of got enough grip and oomph to it that whatever rock you hit, really, as long as it goes under the nose of the truck, then it's going to go over it pretty much hassle-free. Like, it doesn't really argue. Oh yeah, I've taken that trailer. God. There is supposed to be a heavy rock trailer there that I drove off somewhere the other day while I was making footage, and yeah, I think that is absolutely in the middle of nowhere. I'll have to bring it back at some point. For what it's worth, I don't know either. Well, I just randomly decided to ram this, but I don't really like the ramped flatbeds, so give it a little nudge, a little love tap. Oh, I've got a harsh driver sticker on my bonnet, that's what it'll be. Well, that's a pro tip then. Don't put a harsh driver sticker on your truck, because it's haunted. It possessed me to do it. Just like the steering, look. I just went to put left-hand steering again, and it still had to correct itself to the middle, then go a bit to the right, and then it started going left again, by which point I'd gone wide off the road, off into these rocks. Just missed my loaf like a goddamn professional. I'm never like this, even in MudRunner, where you've got the diffs on and then it starts complaining. Right now, I would be better off putting it into auto, but just because the game is trying to tell me that I'm not allowed diffs. Well, we'll see about that. I'll leave it in them now. This is full on cutting your nose off to spite your face, but I'll do it when we're on a game. It's not actually braking as often as I thought though. Once you actually just ignore it for a bit, it kind of realised, like, well, he's not bluffing. He really is going to fuck this truck up. I was looking now at that river because I'd like to cut across that river. I'd like to cut across a lot of the rivers. I like water driving, all that sort of stuff. I used to do a hell of a lot of that in MudRunner. And yeah, like I said though, this thing's a bit low with the snorkel, so we'll have to test it out pretty soon. It's a pretty fine looking bold loaf, if I do say so myself. No one can resist a shaven horse. It's just science. It starts wheel spinning a little bit here, not crazy, but I am low range diffs on all the rest of it. And it's, yeah, it's like the trailer, that's like in a shaved horse. See, over to the left I've got a Navistar just abandoned in here. I did find a trailer with it though, so it wasn't all in vain. Yeah, it's definitely bogging down a little bit there. But anyway, you've only got to get the trailer to here. And then after this is just a little bit more gameplay of me driving around with this, cutting through some rivers and all sorts. Like I said, I don't really use this that often. I don't even know if I used it since I did the review for it a good while ago. So it certainly doesn't get brought out that often. So I figure this is a pretty good excuse to go floating around. So yeah, that's that mission done. I don't think it particularly pays a hell of a lot or anything, but not really a problem. Oops, blew that guy's fence up. My bad. It seems like hay up. There's some hay. Let's see how well this can handle hay. And I got caught. Had to bail. So yeah, that's why I just looped round this way though. I wanted to cut across this river. Couldn't resist any longer. And to be fair, I mean, especially low range diffs on, it claws into the ground and motors through the rivers pretty well. Obviously, when the nose goes in, it certainly took a fair bit of damage there. But then once you kind of get past the deepest point, that's definitely what she said, it kind of like points your nose back out and it stops racking the damage up like as quickly, which is pretty cool. I only cut that last bit out. I drove into the water and drowned, but the trees are all in the way of the camera quite a lot. Right, you see now, steering left, I go to steer left again, it feeds all the way to right hand steer before it allows me to go left again, and that's why I just went flat out into that post. And normally I'm such a careful driver. Still not built that bridge. I'm liking cutting over this river too much, and it's actually like, now I've found a pretty good route to go over there. It's, yeah, pretty manageable. I've drove across there and all sorts of stuff, and yeah, I've sort of make it pretty much every time now. I've gone through in loafs. The big stuff, the medium stuff, the little stuff. The old mud does get pretty deep there. Anyway, sorry, apologies again, a tiny little glitch, but really driving in. Once you actually put it low range diffs on, again it bites in very well, cuts its way across. Still got my fuel trailers there. I like them there though, I like my little beacons. You let me see where to cross. Yeah, once you get back to this mud, I mean, considering some things now are already wheel spinning at about half a mile an hour, so, like I say, it's going to be one of them that's situational, where if you're going to have a chance to kind of open up the taps a bit, get into high range, you get motoring, then yeah, this ain't going to be the best thing to take, but there might be situations, maybe even taking it in front of something else. If you're towing like an 8 slot and it's getting stuck a lot, this thing might wrestle it along. It's a shame it's not got like a high saddle or something on it. Or just, yeah, in general. Like, again, if I was the owner of Caterpillar, I'd be saying to them, like, make this thing a bit more usable and useful and, yeah, a bit more variety to it. Like I say, with the trailers, I don't really see what the harm is in having them. Surely it wouldn't be that hard to put a trailer hitch on the back. Or again, it looks like it'd suit a saddle pretty well. Although those wheels do sit quite high compared to the chassis. But if I had like a saddle high, that'd probably still sit taller than the wheels, so it wouldn't catch. And again, it's just a game. It doesn't actually have to pass real life health and safety standards. So you see though, motoring along these river edges and that, even going over all the rocks, I was pretty happy with how it was doing so far. You can hear that predator. It's made his way to Canada. It's a fucking glitch again. Well, basically, I drove into the river and it stalled. And yeah, I just left this bit in because this is how I crossed the deluge, basically. On Mud Runner and got 1 star, was just drove in, ended up drowning with a Hummer. And just let kind of the current of the river take me. I was trying to sort of steer diagonal and all sorts. And it took literally like an hour or more probably on deluge. It took bloody ages, but that's essentially what happened there. I drove in, it did 80 points off my engine in 1 hit and just stalled me. But instead of just trying to fire it straight back up, I let the current, yeah, just kind of move me over to the left a little bit. Fired it back up, and I don't think I even took any more damage after that, so not too bad. What is it? Oh, definitely not quite half of my engine gone, but a good, more than a third, I'd say. But see, because that's got pretty big tyres, they're 71 inches, they're the average rocks that, you know, a lot of trucks with say 45 to 50 inch tyres stumble on. This thing does pretty well of just bowling over them instead. So you can see with that engine damage, it started to tick up when I was like going in. But as I was on my way out, and it, especially once a rock or two sort of bumped under the tyres, it got my nose out there pretty quick, and then I didn't take a lot of damage. See, another thing that I think they should add with this, because it's got a fuel thing added to the back, but some kind of, whether it's the van body add-on or some custom, like, I could just imagine a little bit like a sideboard or a flatbed on the back with a load of various supplies, like a giant roof rack, and that'd actually be a pretty good thing for this. I know I could just spawn a van trailer or whatever and tow that along, although because this thing can't pick a van trailer out of the trailer store, I'd have to then go to my garage, get another vehicle out, drive to the trailer store bit to spawn the van body to then tow it with this. So it's stuff like that where it's like, just let us pick a bloody trailer for God's sake. Again, in real life, no one's going to say, oh, sorry, you're not allowed to pay cash for that trailer because you're in that cut pretty nice across that river. Just again, like pure freestyle driving. To a degree, this map, with the slowness of it, as I said, it's kind of choked a little bit of the random adventurous freestyling, just cruising across the map and stuff. But as I was taking this out for a little test drive, it's slow regardless, so I was kind of like, sod it. I'd rather go across terrain like this than just going down a road at about this same speed anyway. It's still a little bit as well, because it's articulated. Like, if you start, say now, if I was leaning to the right, it really wants to tip the nose towards the right, like, so it sort of fights against its own steering. But stuff like this, and I didn't do that on purpose, as in I took the corner that wide. That's as tight as I could take the corner, but I kept it pinned, fingers crossed, just because, yeah, this was a little sort of refresher for myself as well, to see how this thing actually handles these days. Because they do a lot of patches in this game as well that they never tell us. I wish they'd add some kind of news or update window in the menu to tell us what they've actually done, because sometimes you end up thinking, did that used to be like that or not? If there was some kind of I know they probably post things on the SnowRunner forums, etc., but a lot of people, me included, a lot of the time don't really bother with them or go on them much. If they just had a pop-up window in the game that let you know the latest things they've done. But it's almost, yeah, some things I think they wouldn't admit to anyway. They seem to be a bit stealthy with it, like nerfing the winches and the cranes. I'm not sure if they ever actually admitted to that, but it's definitely the case, I know that, because I remember testing the cranes back early in the game and they could lift a hell of a lot more than they do now. Pretty nice little view yet. Made it all the way over there. I mean, inevitably had to pop a loaf on just to see if it could fit. To be honest, when I got my harsh driver sticker, it wouldn't let me have a dolphin hood ornament, or any kind of hood ornament, so I got myself a goddamn horse ornament. Look at him, galloping like a professional. But I did the winch from like the middle of the cat up to the back of the loaf, so it's kind of yanked it in pretty good and proper. And yeah, I mean, drives along just fine, I'll admit. Might get in the way of the view slightly. This originally was while I was driving around at night, because it was so foggy during the day I could actually see more of the truck and everything at night. Although I did notice now the headlights are pretty horrifically weak. And yeah, the steering again, I just went flying off to the left, couldn't correct it in time, but see, he's a goddamn professional. He stays on. Just chilling, this is how he likes to ride. Well, what you actually don't know is he is, in fact, a lamppost inspector. This is how he checks the bulbs. He's like, yep, that one seems to be in good working order. Proceed. There's also part-time telegraph pole stress tester. Bam, now he's on his lunch break. You know, like that photo where they're sitting on like the girders of the Empire State Building eating their packed lunch or whatever? That's basically what my loaf is doing now. He's just sitting on the side of his cat, enjoying his lunch break while we go for a little cruise. And he stayed on to the end like a goddamn professional. Yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.